What makes a legend? How does ordinary become extraordinary? How can I be legendary? Welcome to Legends Only. Eugenio Romerica Abunda Jr. was born on October 29, 1958 in Borongan, Eastern Samar. Known as the King of Talk, Boy hosted iconic programs like The Buzz, The Bottom Line, and Controversial. In his 27 years as a television host, he has interviewed thousands of individuals and won more than 100 awards. Boy is the founder of the Make Your Nanay Proud Foundation and is a loving other half to his partner of 38 years, Bong Quintana. How did Boy Abunda become Boy Abunda? Let's find out here on Legends Only. Welcome to Legends Only, Tito Boy Abunda.
Thank you, Bianca.
So this conversation, Tito Boy, ako ang toka sa conversation na to. And I wanted to start way back as a child growing up in Borongan, Samar. Were you already fond of talking to people, asking questions, and were you already confident back then?
Okay. Nothing was deliberate when you think about childhood. You know, when I go back to Borongan, Eastern Samar as a child, ang alam ko lang madaldal ako. Nanay would say that, na ang daldal ko raw. Was I confident? The answer to that is I don't know. Pero malakas ang loob ko sumali sa mga declamation contests, singing contests.
You were not shy?
In that way, no. I don't think I was ever shy because, my declamation contests, spelling contests, so I was there. Madaldal. But was it a kind of confidence that I carried with me when I came to Manila? No, because I was so insecure when I came to Manila. I was so insecure about my accent. I was so insecure about how I looked. I was so insecure because I wanted to be konyo. I wanted to get the RNA accent. So, hindi rin nadala. Pero madaldal pa rin ako.
That you went to the big city. Di ba ganyan usually yung painted picture? Did it feel like going into the big city? And how did you adjust?
The first time I came to the big city, for school, syempre, I would write nanay letters about ang ganda ng kanto ng Malibay. We used to stay in Malibay in Pasay, that was EDSA. I used to write in detail anong look nung Magallanes Theater, which was close to Malibay. I would tell them about the supermarkets. Everything was huge. And as nanay would say, mag-iingat ka because it's also dangerous. You cannot trust anyone. So, yun yung mga dumikit sa akin.
Tito Boy, while you were making that kwento, something popped in my head. So during that time in your life, how did you view fitting in versus standing out?
Coming from the province, I wanted to blend. I really wanted to blend. But in my efforts to blend, I think in retrospect, I stood out. Okay, how did I want to blend? Sa eskwelahan, at tinitingnan ko sila, ganito pala sila magsuot ng jeans. Ganito pala yung mga sapatos nila. Ganito pala sila magsalita. I didn't want to be different because I didn't want to punish myself. Alam mo naman, bata ka, you're 16, 17, di ba? And you want to belong. Nobody was pressuring me. I was not bullied by anybody in school to be like them, but I was bullying myself. Because I wanted to be like them. I wanted to sound like them. Tapos sa administration building ng Ateneo, you're familiar with this, the old administration building at 5 o'clock in the afternoon or 6 in the evening. Di ba, kanya-kanyang sundo na yan. I love that. Sabi ko, nanay, parang pelikula. Ang ganda-ganda. And it was difficult because was I comfortable walking from the administration building to gate 3 and getting my tricycle? It wasn't. Bata ka eh. Kahit pa paano may konting ego ka, so nakikipagkaibigan ka, para nakikisakay ka hanggang Cubao at doon ka na magbubos, etc. Sabi nga sa'yo, Bianca, nobody bullied me. I was bullying myself because I didn't know better. I wanted to blend in. And by blending in, I think I stood out because I could not.
Yeah.
I could not blend. I just couldn't.
This is a question, Tito Boy, I have never asked you and I'm curious. Growing up as a young gay boy, did you ever have any really painful experience of discrimination? And how did that shape you?
I was probably 7, 6, 8 years old. I had 2 other gay friends. So we would play secretly. Ang mga laro namin, yung ginagawa namin mga buhok, yung kumot. This is the first time also I'm talking about this. Yung tuwalya, ginagawang gown or dress, whatever. Dahil nakikita mo na namin sa mga magazines, whatever was available, na ganun pala ang mga artista mag-ayos. We would have a good laugh. Pero paglabas namin ng bahay, ang kalaro naman naming iba, karate. Karate. We would play the games of all. There was no division between boys and girls, and wala kaming, I don't know what it was, pero walang ganon. Nanonotice ko lang, pag bahay-bahayan na, I never became the father. I was always the priest.
The priest?
I was always the priest. Sabi ko, bakit kaya? I never role-played being a father. But of course, I didn't question that because I enjoyed the costume, di ba? Parang nakagown ang pare. So there was at Royal Street. I was so afraid going through that street. Madalas, when we go to church or we go to the town plaza, we had to pass through Royal Street. Doon, Biancs. Boys, older boys, coming out of nowhere, mga kanto, bayot, bakla. That was a kind of bullying and discrimination maybe that I went through. And the most frightening was on Sundays, pagkasama ko ang nanay at ang aking tatay, ayokong natatawag akong bakla or bayot in Waray because I didn't want to humiliate my parents. So, yun ang karanasan ko sa bullying. It broke me in a way. It scarred me in a way. Why? Because when I was growing up, I became very conscious about my posture. Kailangan hindi nakaganito kasi you're not supposed to be soft. Kailangan straight. And Bianca, I ran so fast. It was a weapon. I wanted to be as fast as the wind para hindi ako makita at hindi ako maabutan, para hindi ako matawag na bayot.
Grabe that story. Thank you for sharing that. You talked about Nanay. Of course, anyone who knows Boy Abunda knows Nanay and how big a part she is of your life. What particular trait of your Nanay is very strong in you that makes Boy Abunda Boy Abunda?
Madaldal, pero pag galit, tahimik. That was my nanay. And that is me. I got that from her. Pag dumaldal ako, Biancs, ibig sabihin manageable yun. But when I decide to keep quiet, that's something that's very deep. That was nanay. I don't want to talk about the strength because I would not even be able to approximate the strength of my mother. The bravado of nanay as a public school teacher, wow. Ngayon nga nawala na ang nanay. I was having a conversation with a doctor friend of mine and he was saying, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm not okay. The pain's still there. I mean, has it diminished? No. It's still the same pain. Every time I go back to that space, umiiyak pa rin ako, humahagulgul pa rin ako." But I told my friend doctor, sabi niya, "Why?" Sabi ko, "I don't want to lose that pain because it is the only thing that connects me to my mother. It's that constant pain that connects me to nanay, who remains, even in death, my moral compass. Pag ginawa ko ba ito, matutuwa ang nanay. Ito ba? Pag pumunta ako, matutuwa ang nanay." Bong has learned that from me. Alam mo, pag buhay si nanay, itong sasabihin nun. Hanggang ngayon, she's part of our conversation.
That's so beautiful. Okay, going back to your journey, you said nothing was deliberate. So you worked in theater, worked in PR, TV hosting was definitely not in the horizon or anything. So when you were after taking up business management in Ateneo that you eventually did not finish. Going into theater, starting PR, trying it out, what was the dream then?
One day, and this was the pivot of my life, the great grand dame of Manila's high society, who was the executive director of the Manila Metropolitan Theater, Tita Conching Sunico, who was the head of the Met, called for me to the Hilton, room 1107. Sabi ko, bakit kaya ako pinatatawag? Baka may nagawa ako or something. So I went there. I knocked, pinapasok ako. Sabi ko, "Ma'am, I'm Boy Abunda. I believe you called for me." Without looking at me, Biancs. "Yes. I hear you're very good backstage and you're very good at what you do. Do you want to work for me?" Her back talking to me, because Tita Conching was a formidable woman. Everybody trembled in her presence. When she said, "Would you like to work for me?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." Okay. It was so quiet, it was so awkward. So ako, "Thank you very much, ma'am." Pero pagkalabas ko ng pintuan, Biancs, 1107, I will never forget that. Sabi ko, ano kayang trabaho? So, bumalik ako. Sabi ko, "Ma'am, I'm sorry. I just have one question." Lumingon. She turned to face me. Siya natakot ako. Sabi ko, "I just wanted to know what my job is." And there she said, "I want you to join my PR office." And the nagagaling-galingan boy Abunda, I was what? I was not even 20, I think, Bianx. And then I said, Ma'am, what is PR?
No, you answered that.
You know what you said? I will teach you.
Oh my, that's a scene. If there was a movie, that's in the
Yes.
trailer for sure.
Yeah. Sabi ko, ma'am, thank you. Goodbye. And that started it. That was the start of my journey to public relations, to setting up my own office, to talent management, and then, but hosting was nowhere in sight.
To think that to everyone who knows you now, that is the first in the biography of
That's
Aboy Abunda, which I guess came into your life mid-20s. Is that correct?
Yes.
Late 20s.
Mid-20s. I think I was 24, 23, mga ganun.
Yeah, and at that time, Tito Boy, TV hosting was like not a thing.
No, not a thing. And you wouldn't imagine.
So if you had no one to follow, how did you chart what you wanted to do?
Here's the story, Bianx. I don't think sometimes you chart it, but I don't think it's always deliberate. You know, I've never talked about this, but I will now. Television was a strange land, but it was a fascinating land. It was a dreamland. I was doing PR jobs already, Bianx. I've set up my own PR office, and one of my clients was GMA7. I must have talked. I was always voluble. I love talking. So siguro na-notice sila Bobby Barrero. So they were preparing a show for the lovely Gretchen Barreto. So I was in my car, may kotse na ako noon, Bianca. Ang cellphones noon, yung malalaki. Na may, I got that call from Bobby. Would you be interested to do television? I didn't miss a beat, Bianca. So I said, yes. What are you talking about? So, you know, yun, that Gretchen's to do a show, and would I want to be a co-host? Of course. And I got the show. I did that show for a number of years. Gretchen became pregnant. Doon ako, Bianca, natuto. Because when she left the show, I had to do it on my own. And my learning career in hosting and interviewing started there.
I wanted to ask you this, Tito Boy. A huge part of your career was the iconic tandem that you had, of course, with Chris Aquino. You are both embedded in pop culture talaga, from the buzz and everything else that you did together. How did that friendship and that partnership mold you as a host and as a human being that you eventually became?
I'll tell you the story. There was a talk about a showbiz-oriented talk show, and that was Star Talk. Doon kami pinagtagpo ni Chris. That's how it started. The beautiful, most exciting daughter of the former president, who was one of the biggest stars, and Chris was so fascinating. And then they probably needed a support who could stand by her. And that's how it started. And I think it just worked. How did it work? We did it as well as we were there. We got to know each other. We started to appreciate each other. We became brothers and sisters. We became friends when we were doing it. Was it difficult? It was not. Was it easy? Hindi rin. Because I don't think Chris is easy, neither am I easy. There are tandems that are born in heaven. It was one of them. And I am most grateful. I am most grateful.
Thank you! Maraming salamat po.
Grabe. I love that. Tito Boy, as a last question to all the Legends Only guests, your advice to everyone listening on how they can find what they're supposed to do and the path they are meant to take.
Ang tawag ko sa idols, in my own language, I don't want to become Boy Abunda, but he is my dream marker. I like to introduce that idea of, you like the career of, let's say, Moira. She spent 12, 14 years paying her dues before she hit it, you know, with the first hit. That's my dream marker. It's my mark. Okay, that can happen that way. The first word that comes to mind is listen. Listen to your heart, listen to God, listen to the voices that matter, because the future presents itself in different faces. In my story, they were Tita Conching on the benches of Luneta, my nanay. They came in many faces. So you listen. I'm not saying listen literally with your ears, but listening with your heart and with your eyes. Listening with your joy and pain. And the second thing that comes to mind to anyone who's interested, I think lang success really is born out of all the mistakes and the failures that you go through. The best kind of success for me, and this is empirical, is the kind of success that is born out of pain and tears and laughter. So my message, my most important message is pray and do whatever you're doing right now as you listen to me to the best you can, because you're not alone. God is there. Remember that line of Maya Angelou, I come as one, I stand as 10,000. Because I'm never alone. You're never alone, Bianca. I'm here in front of you. I stand on the shoulders of Nanay, of my grandparents. I stand on the shoulders of my ancestors. I stand on their shoulders proud and brave, because I know that I am never alone. I come as one. I stand as 10,000. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tito Boy. Time flew by talking to you. It is always an honor. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're most welcome, Bianca. Salamat.